What's up, graphic designers? If you think these graphics behind me are pretty damn cool, just wait till you see tonight's episode. We're going to be talking about web banners and cats. Welcome back to episode number 3 of Layout Design Bootcamp, where in every episode I take a fictitious brand that I designed in Layout Design Bootcamp, my other series, and I give it some life, I give it some use, I put it on something, whether it be for web or for print, and I teach you how to build it. So if you recall from episode 3 of Logo Design Bootcamp, I did a logo for Chubby Cat for the letter C, and what I did was in this episode, I not only modernized, enhanced the logo, made it a little bit more cleaner to look at, but I built a dummy website and I did some web banners because that's what I wanted to be this episode about. Last 2 episodes were about print. Now I'm going to jump into like some web stuff. I'll jump all over the place throughout the series, but web banners are so important. When somebody comes to your website, it's going to either tell you about recent products, or you have a special going on, or free shipping, or just something to get their attention because it's visual and it's at the top of the page. So you have a certain amount of time to get a viewer's attention, and if you don't, they're going to hit that back button. So these web banners are very simple that I designed for this this tutorial, and they go very well with the skin of the website, which is a live website. You can go take a look at the links in the description below. And to always make it easier for everybody, I have provided a link for you to download this file without the images, because these are images that I purchased. You can find your own images. I talk about that in the video. So, but just so you can see how everything's laid out, the way that I do layers and all this stuff. So let's jump into it. We're going to use Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop CS6 in this. If you have CS4 and up, the files will be fine for you to use. So let's go. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to design these for print, but in the end, we're going to be saving these for web, only because you don't want to do all types of design work and save everything very low, and then eventually you want to do it in a print application, and you can't because your images are too condensed and stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to show you in here, how to save for web. I'm going to show you how to build this using Photoshop and Illustrator. Photoshop mainly for the images. I'm going to show you how to do a flat graphic for these cans right here and how to superimpose it in Photoshop. Also going to show you how to do these kind of layers in the background that make it a little bit more styled up and a little bit more eye appealing. I'm going to show you also how to mask out these images pretty well in Photoshop so you don't really have white edges going around them. I mean, this takes a couple of hours at least to refine in the end. So, but like as always, I'm going to speed through it so you understand it, and then you're going to take your time to go through everything. Now let's jump on to the second layer. You're pretty much going to learn the same thing. It's a little bit different. Colors have changed. And if you notice that I have this styling in the background, it has their brand go throughout, which is, it's a screen of their logo, which is a pretty cool little thing to do throughout pieces that you design, or, just laying around the web and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you how to line up elements and, do a clipping mask in here, and also how to have this kind of go out of here, and the way we're going to save it, so when I put this on my website, it goes over everything. It goes over this blue bar, it goes over this box right here. So let's jump into it right now and start building this thing. The very first thing you want to do is find a couple of images. Now, the images that I found was this one on Big Stock, and I purchased it, and this one on Big Stock that I purchased. Now, you want to go online and either purchase these, or I would just suggest that you get the ones with the watermarks over it. You can download them all for free from every stock photography website, but just so you can use them in this tutorial. You're going to come into Photoshop, and we're going to just take these and we're going to pull these into Photoshop. It's going to create 2 separate documents. Now, what I want to do in Photoshop is I want to get all this white out of the background on each photo. And if you see how much detail there is with the hair, it looks like a very big challenge to do that. Now it is. There's a lot of refining that goes into it. And because it's a web banner and it's going to be very small, you can get away with not going too crazy that it won't be noticed if you miss a couple of things. Now, the very first thing we are going to do with this is we are going to come into our background layer right here. We're going to double click it and then hit OK. So now we can mess around with it. You're going to come into your channels palette, and you're going to click on the red, green, or the blue, and what I want you to try to figure out is which is the best channel that shows the most contrast, the red, the green, or the blue. definitely the blue. So what we're going to do is we're going to click this layer and we're going to drag it into our layers to create a copy of that layer so we don't mess with the original. You're next going to come up to your image adjustments and levels, and you're going to start to mess around with your levels so you create even better contrast with this image. Now, you want to pull up the dark, pull up the one from the right, and you want to start to get this, like I said, you still see some of these rough edges with the hair. You want to get this as much as you can. Now, this works very well, obviously, because this image is on a white background. If you have an image that you're taking and there's a landscape behind you, you're going to have a really hard time doing this. So you're going to have to spend a lot of handwork in this. I would suggest, because I'm not huge on this and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this aspect of it, but go online. There's many tutorials about how to really do this really well, with artists that work with like models, with hair and everything like that. So you're now going to hit OK. And you can do a couple of things. You can either fill in all the middle with black and then select it, or we can really just see what happens if we take our magic wand tool. You see what's happening here? It's selecting all the white on the outside, but now it's coming in to the shape right here. So what I would do personally is I would come up here and save this selection as Cat 1. Okay? And then hit OK. Then come back into your layers and click on your layer. Now you can see your image and you can see where all the clipping where the selection edges are. Now obviously it's cutting out my cat here and it's cutting out his paws because the paws are very light. So what you can do is you can come up to the lasso tool, and if you hit shift on the lasso tool, you're going to notice that a plus sign comes up, and if you hit Option, or I believe Alt on a PC, you're going to see a minus sign. So right now what I want to do is I want to hold the plus sign and, the minus sign, and I want to kind of just rag around this area, make a big circle so it adds all those pixels basically. I'm going to kind of freehand this right here around the paw, same thing, and same thing with this paw right here. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the plus sign on the keyboard, the shift, so the plus sign comes up, and I'm going to kind of just rag around here, and I basically want these shadows, the shadow that when the photo was taken, to disappear, because I don't want them to be in my selection. So when I delete all the background, that stuff will delete. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to just, while this is all selected, these selected edges, you're going to come up here and you're going to hit Add Layer Mask. Select inverse on that. So we're selecting the background and now select a layer mask. Now what you could do in here is while you're on the mask, you can come into a brush and you can come down here and select a brush that's a little bit ragged and make it too large. Let's see what we got here. You can hit open bracket, which is right under the plus sign on your keyboard to make this larger, or close bracket to make it smaller. So it's a nice shortcut right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the fill is in black, and you can start to now take away from this. So I'm obviously not going to do that, but if I zoom in, I'm going to see that some of these edges need to be a little bit, less hard edge because of all that hair. And like I said, there's many tutorials on the internet with people who are really great at this stuff. So, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it because it's not necessary in this case. Same thing here. It's a very hard edge. I kind of want to just break it up a little bit, especially these areas because they're going to be going over hard color on the actual web banner itself. Here too. Obviously, I lost the whiskers, but that's not a big deal. What I like to do is create a new layer, pull it down to the bottom by clicking and dragging, and filling it with a dark color, like say this dark green. So you're going to go to Edit, Fill, and do Foreground Color. Now, as you can see, if I zoom in, everything looks pretty legit here. There's not really any white going around. It's pretty good, and I'm actually pretty happy with it, with the exception of a few things. I'm not really fond of this, what's going on right here. So I'm going to take my, go back into my mask, and I'm going to mask that out a little bit. That kind of crap that's happening right there. And let's see what we can do here. All right. Okay. I'm going to turn this off, and we can I'm actually going to crop this image by taking my marquee because there's rather a lot of extra space on each side. I'm just going to select it right around there, go to image crop. And now I'm just going to go to save as, I'm going to do cat1.psd. Now, let me see something real quick. If we go into, okay, this is a problem here. What you want to do is, right now your resolution is 300. And I did say we're going to design this for print and then we're going to save it for web. So we're going to leave that at 300 and we're going to change this width to, I would say, let's say 500 pixels because my web banner is not going to be more than 1,000. So let's see, what does that bring him to? All right, I'm going to change the document. Well, you know what? It's not going to be good for print at that case because it's only going to be a small image. So let's go back to, let's make this width like 1,000 and we're going to hit OK. And it's going to shrink this image a lot, which is okay. And we're going to now save that image and overwrite the other one. Now we're going to come into this image and do the same thing. We're going to double click and hit OK. We're going to come into our channels. Let's see. Same thing. The blue is the best. We're going to click, drag, copy it. Come into levels, image adjust levels. We're going to get that contrast back, that really good contrast. So it's the edges kind of fill in. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into here and I'm going to click. Actually, you know what? Let me show you the other way. Let's come into our brush and we have a black fill. We're going to take a brush of, any kind of a solid brush and start filling in. We zoom in around the edges just to kind of fill that in. And don't really worry about the inside. Just kind of worry about the outside. So there's no way the pixels can be selected on the inside when you do the marquee on the outside. If that just made no sense, I'll show you what I meant in a minute. All right, so kind of get this. Outside of the cat right here. All right, you got the ear. I'm going to speed through this real quick. Okay, so now I'm at a pretty good point. I'm going to click the background and see what happens. Now that I have my background selected, I'm going to come into my layers and click the layer so I can see how everything is kind of panning out here. Same thing, we're going to come into our lasso tool, and in certain areas we're going to minus the pixels, like the ones that go within the document that you don't want. I'm going to minus that. Same thing here. This looks pretty good, pretty good. See that white back there? We got to get that out of there. Oh, excuse me, we got to add it. Sometimes I forget which one I have to do, add or subtract at that moment. You see how the paw got lost right there? Let's hit minus, all right. All right, so this looks pretty good. What we're now going to do, again, is we're going to click the mask tool. I did it twice. Going crazy today. We're going to click that mask tool, and I'm going to throw a background behind this and see what happens. All right, not bad. The white edges aren't terrible. You could come in here with a brush, like I said, and you can mask that all out. What I would like to do is this one right here. Looks ugly. Even this stuff right here. And that's why this stuff takes so long, because there's a lot of refining in it. Like I said, it's not going to take, it's going to take a long time, excuse me. All right, so you know what? Let me just save this. Save as cat2. And oops, you got to save it without that background. Save. All right, so now that we did Cat 1 and Cat 2, we're going to jump into Adobe Illustrator. Now, the first thing we're going to do in Illustrator is we are going to make a new document, file new, and it's going to be one artboard. It's 5 inches in width and 1.5 inches in height. All right, and it's going to look like this. Now, I'm going to come back into my old file, and I'm just going to paste it right on top of here so I have a reference. And this is basically the label that we are going to make for our cans. And I'm actually going to go into document setup, edit artboards. I'm going to make this a little bit higher. I'm going to make it 2 inches. Right now, hit OK. So you see it got a little bit larger. I remember when I went into Photoshop prior to this, I had to make this a little bit higher. So you're going to first take the actual logo that was designed for this original tutorial. And if you do notice this like I said, this logo has been modernized and cleaned up based on the last tutorial. It's a little bit better. So you're going to take that logo and come in here with it, and you're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to make a rectangle. We're going to make this blue shape in the background. And you're basically going to take a rectangle and fill it with any kind of blue that you want. And what you want to do is you want to come into here to the Add Anchor tool, and or you can hit plus sign on your keyboard, and you're going to click right here. All right? And you're now going to hit A on the keyboard to get your direct selection, and you're going to just click this point and move it down while holding Shift. So you get about here. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to click this point, and you're going to move it to about somewhere around here. Let's say a little bit higher. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to either hit Shift-C, or you're going to go to the Convert Anchor Point tool, and you're going to click right here, and you're going to see it starts to, now it allows you to kind of wind this. And you're going to go like this, and you're going to let go. And we're going to hit A on our keyboard and move this a little bit down, trying to match what I have above. And just play around and see what kind of angles you come up with that you're happy with. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our logo and go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, or Shift Command open bracket, I believe, or close bracket. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create 2 rectangles from the top. We're going to go to eyedropper tool, I on the keyboard, and just click in our logo color, and it'll sample it. We're going to go to Option, click, shift it down to copy it. And I'm going to change this a little bit. You know, I noticed why my curve is a little off because I made this higher than the original. Just realized that. Make this a little bit touch smaller. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Place, and we're going to find cat number 2. Let's see, where is it? Cat 2. That's the one we just changed. Now, what I'm going to do on here is I'm going to take my pen tool, and I'm just going to select this little guy at the end, or girl. We're going to take the pen, and we're going to click and make a clipping mask, and make sure there's nothing in the middle because it's going to screw you up when you go around. We're just going to kind of freehand do this real quick. All right. If you notice what I did at the end, the way that I did this, I realized I don't have to do this so perfect because I already did that all in Photoshop before. But we're going to now, while we have the clipping mask, hold Shift and click the image and right-click and make a clipping mask. I mean, you can also cut those other cats out in Photoshop and save another file. But I just wanted to show you another way, and you just learned how to do a clipping mask. So now you're going to take this corner point, hold Shift, and you're going to scale it down. What we could do is we could have this cat go above here if you want. You know what? That's not bad. Let me think about that for a second. I like that. And maybe we'll have him come over here, and we will type in made with real fish here, and we're going to turn that to italic, make it about 10 points. I'm going to take that make that 80% black to make it a little softer. And I'm just going to copy this word salmon down here. You can easily do with the type tool with that font. It's called Frankfurt. All right, so that is this one, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to you can even select a box around him, hit V on the keyboard. Now hold Shift to select the cat and right click and make another clipping mask. So there's a clipping mask within a clipping mask within a clipping mask. So that's the first one. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this layer, and you can name this, can 1. All right. Take this, and we're going to click, hold, drag into a new layer, and we're going to name this can 2. And if I lock can 1 so I don't accidentally screw it up, I'm going to turn that off. And we're going to come into can 2. Now, on can 2, I'm going to change this to chicken. And I'm going to change this to chicken. Okay. I think that was a capital C. And hit escape when you're done doing that so it exits the selection. And I'm now going to delete this little guy right here. And I'm going to come into another image that I purchased. And I didn't have to do any corrections on it. So I'm just going to take this. Normally what you would want to do is you'd want to come into Photoshop and you'd want to either make sure it's all cleaned up or come into image size. You can also, this is 17 megs right now. So if you really feel like you want to have a small image, you can change this to 72 and it comes down to under with 17 megs. Now it's I believe it's under a megabyte. And basically the width is if my whole web banner is 1,000. You don't need that width to be that big. So let's say change that to 500. Just say we'll hit OK. We'll save this as cat 3. And if you have any questions on what I was just talking about, you can ask me in the comments. Cat 3 will turn it to a Photoshop document PSD, and we'll now come into here. And we'll go to File, Place, find cat 3, double click, and there he is. All right, we're going to scale that down by holding Shift. And we're just going to now object arrange, send to back. All right, so there's my cat right there. In this case, I have to bring this up here and turn it white because it doesn't work with the layout. And the only difference that what I did on here was I actually changed these to an orange. So select any orange you want. And we're going to select this. Even change the logo to that orange because it's depicting a new flavor. I'm going to have to do the same thing with this. All right, cool. So we got chubby cat, chubby cat, chubby cat. All right, let's see. What is the next thing we're going to do? We're going to make sure that guy's moved over. We're now going to delete this old one because we don't need that. I'm going to make sure there's nothing hanging on my keyboard anywhere. I mean, my layout. Let's see. Going back into layer 1. I'm going to delete the top here. Make sure there's no other points. All right, so what you're going to do now is you're going to go to File, Export, and you're going to export this as label 1. And you can save this as a PNG or a JPEG. I'm just saving that to my desktop right now. We're going to come into our next layer and go to label 2. Save that, export it as label 2. Label 2. Let's see how that comes out. Let's see. We got label 1. I'll go. We're going to learn something here. All right, so label 1 got screwed up, and label 2 did not get screwed up. If you see how it is, the reason label 1 got messed up is if you look at this image, and I release a clipping mask, there is, well, I release it again, there was the rest of that image going all the way over here. So what you want to do is when you're saving this one, you want to go to File, Export, and I believe what this was the first label 1. You want to rename it label 1, and you want to come down here and hit Use Artboards, and now hit Export, and it will be, I didn't save that as label 1. LABEL1, Use Artboards, desktop, okay, and it now created label 1 perfectly. So the next thing you want to do is you want to go online and find a can, any kind of canned cat food, just so you have a can. So I went online, I think I found Friskies right here. We're going to go into Photoshop and we're going to drag, let's get these images closed. We're going to drag this can in here. We're going to double click this right here and hit OK. We're now going to take our magic wand and we're going to select the outside. But now you see how it comes into our can a little bit. What you can do is you can lower the tolerance up here. Maybe say to make that 20% and see if it changes anything. You still got some spill in there. Last time I'm going to try 10%. All right, now we're good. You're going to select that. You're going to hold shift and select the bottom area. So now, oh, there's a third area. You basically have all the white. If I zoom in here, I still got a little bit of white over there. Last bit. Okay, now you want to hit delete so it deletes that entire background, and you're gonna just marquee this real quick. Just crop this. Definitely a good thing to do. Next thing we're gonna do is you're gonna hit Command D to deselect those selection points right there. We're going to basically just drag label 1 in, and then we're gonna drag label 2 in. You're gonna have to hit OK after that. Drag label 2 in. Okay, we're going to zoom out. As you zoom out, it looks better because of the way it was saved. I'm going to, and now these are smart objects, so we can either do this now or later. You can come into Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object. I gotta do this 2 times. Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object. And I'm going to turn one of them off for now. I'm just going to do one at a time. And you're going to come here and kind of lay this label over here right like so. And we're going to go to Command T, transform it, and we're going to make the edges go to the edge of the can. So it's less work for us to do in a second. And we're going to hit OK. Now we're going to go to Edit, Transform, Warp. This is you're going to have some fun with this. You basically have to just start taking points and putting them where they really need to be. Now it's not just points, because you can grab the actual piece and you can make it wavy or however. The goal is to get these lines to be pretty straight after getting your perspective, your angle. So basically we're going to play around with this for a little bit. And we are going to play around with this for a little bit. I'm going to speed this up. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Definitely, this stuff does take a little bit of time. So let's come into here again, Command T. We're going to transform the sides so they meet up. And we're going to go in and start warping. Edit, transform, warp. Warp, warp. And if you know of a better way, anybody, let me know, because this is how I did this for this tutorial. I don't do too much of this superimposing stuff, so I would be glad to hear in the comments. All right, so I kind of just did that roughly, but now if you notice, like, this point hangs over, what you can do is you can come into the eraser, or you can mask it out so you don't actually erase it from the actual image. I'm just going to erase this area right here, kind of like back up a second, do it again. There we go, kind of just have it go around like so. And if you zoom out, looks pretty legit, doesn't it, for the purpose of this tutorial? You're going to save this as can 1, and we're going to come back to our other layer, and we're going to figure out what the hell happened here. We're going to move that back up. There it is. We're going to save this. I'm going to fix those points that are hanging off. Like that. That's good enough. We're going to save that as can 2, and these are going to be PSD files right on the desktop. Now we're back in Adobe Illustrator, and you can take the template file that I gave to you and use that as a reference. If you look, the first layer says background. I felt that it was better to create the background of the website prior to doing the actual banners, because then I can look at color schemes and look at what colors clash and do not clash and work together and stuff like that. So here's banner 1 on the next layer, and here is banner 2. So what I'm going to do with banner 1 is I'm going to select the entire thing, and I'm going to move it down. I got to unlock all this first. That'd be helpful. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to make a rectangle in this area. You really can just eye this up, and I'm going to pretty much speed through this pretty quick, explaining everything. I'm going to go into the gradient and click just the gradient. find a color you like. I'm going to take this turquoise right here. And now we're going to click the gradient tool to put the gradient where we want it. So I'm going to go from left to upper right, right from upper left, excuse me. And I'm going to now click this rectangle, go to Command C, then Object Lock Selection. And I'm going to go to Edit Paste in Front. So basically what I did was I have two rectangles now. I'm going to fill the front one with this color right here, that same color. So if I move it, now you're going to see this and then the one I just did prior to that. Let me back up. Next thing we're going to do is hit plus sign on our keyboard, make a point right up here on that line. Now we're going to hit A on our keyboard and we're going to pull that point down with holding Shift. Same thing over here. We're going to now hit Shift C and we're going to, just like we did with the label earlier. All right, so we get that cool effect right there. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to take our logo, and you can just even copy this from here. All it is a clipping mask, just like we've been doing all along. Go to Option. I'm going to click this and shift it up. And I'm going to now go to Object Arrange, Bring to Front. So it has a little bit of character. It's just showing that this logo keeps popping up. It's getting, it's going to be engraved in their mind. Next thing you want to do is you want to go to File, Place, and we're going to find that image of the cats that we did. And I believe that was cat 2. We're going to place that. It's going to be a rather large image. We're going to go to Object Arrange, Bring to Front, and we're now going to either take the corner point or the middle point. I'm going to do it from the middle point by holding Shift and Option, and I'm going to scale it down proportionately. I'm now going to come into the Reflect tool, O on the keyboard, hit Shift and click over and move over to the right, and it flips it around. And I'm going to take my regular arrow, and I'm going to just move this into place. All right, it's a pretty good scale. My clipping mask came out great, as you can see. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place those two cans. So we're going to go to can 1. We can only do one at a time, and I'm going to go to Object Arrange, Bring to Front, because it's sent it to the back. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to can 2. To Object Arrange, Bring to Front, and I'm going to scale these down, get these in the spot that I want them to be. Now I purposely had these cans not be over here. I wanted them to be over the line that's going through because it creates some dimension right there. I wanted also this can to be in front of the other one, and that definitely works out perfectly like that. We're going to make this smaller. Now I will probably mess around with the cans later as I do my text, because if you see how the text fits in here perfectly, that was done on purpose. You can also do a little shadow on this. I would suggest doing it in Photoshop, then saving, and then coming back into Illustrator to update the file with the shadow. If I do a shadow in Illustrator, it's going to look really funky. So we're going to now go to Text Tool, and we're going to type out Chubby Cat. We're going to hit Escape, and you can't see it because it's in the back. Go to Object Arrange, Bring to Front. We're going to change the font to Franklin. Frankfurt, excuse me. We're going to scale this up a little bit, like so. I'm now going to turn this orange in the foreground. I'm going to go to Command C and Command B. Now I just pasted the same exact thing behind itself, and you'll see why. I come into my stroke. I'm going to turn my stroke white. I'm going to take that stroke. I'm going to make it about 3 points, and I'm now going to apply a drop shadow on that entire word. I'm going to select this word, so basically the first layer and the back layer. I'm going to go to Command G to group it, and now I'm going to go into the shear tool, which if you don't know where it is, it's under the scissors. You have to click and hold down to get to it sometimes, and you're going to click, hold Shift while you're doing this, and you're going to make this italics basically, because there is no italics for this font. So we're going to just move this up here to where we want it to be. We're going to do the type tool again, and we're going to type it Promotes Healthy Cats. Hit Escape, and we're going to change the font to Futura Medium School. Move this down so that fits in there like so. And always have your hand on the left side of the keyboard, so if you mess up, you can hit Command Z and you can do all your keyboard commands. Very important. Now going to take this and turn this to like an 80% black. And the way that I get to my foreground color is I hit X on my keyboard. You'll see how these switch right here. Change that to 80% black. And the last thing I'm going to do is just this part on the bottom right, which is the view, basically the view all flavors. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, we're going to do the rounded rectangle, and just make a rounded rectangle that has a fill of black. And we're going to zoom in here. I'm going to hit X on my keyboard to get to my stroke, and I'm going to create a gradient that is white to about 50 or 60% black. I'm now going to take my stroke and I'm going to change the option to apply gradient across stroke, which you can only do in Illustrator CS6 or above, which we don't have yet, but that's when it started in Illustrator CS6. And I'm going to make the stroke, I'm going to make it 2 points, and I'm going to go to now Effect, Apply Drop Shadow. It's going to apply the same settings to any drop shadow I've done prior to this, which would be this one on the word chubby cat. The last thing we're going to do on this is hit the type tool, hit, what was it, view all flavors. And now we're going to hit escape on the keyboard. We're going to scale this down to where I want it to be. We're going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, and we're going to fill that in the foreground in white. And we're going to go to our swatches, fill it in white. We're going to move it right over here. And if I back up, it looks pretty legit. I would probably just mess around with the balance over here. I would make sure this can lines up with the outside of this, which I didn't do in my original, but now that I'm refining this and going through this, I noticed that. And this side is done. Moving on to side 2. Now what you want to do is you basically want to copy layer 1, and the way that you do that is you would basically just take the banner that says banner 1, and you would click, hold, and drag into that new layer icon, and you would now turn on the next layer. You can now rename it if you'd like. And I'm going to obviously delete all this because I don't want to look at that anymore. I'm going to come into here for my personal reference, and I'm going to take all this. I'm actually going to throw my layer away and redo this. And let's see. We'll go to the new layer that we just copied over, and I'm going to put this below, just like I said, so I have a reference. And I'm going to take out this background because it's kind of bothering me right now. What I'm going to do right now is very simple at this point. We're going to just take a couple things out and change a couple things. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to change that color to a color of my choice, a pink or even a gradient. Now I'm going to come into this green right over here, and I'm going to change that color to, I'm going to add this pink color right where that green is, and do that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the word chubby cat, and I'm going to type in handy treats, hit escape, and now go to Command 2 to lock the selection. And I'm now going to select this again and hit handy space treats. I spelled that wrong. Treats. All right, cool. I'm now going to go to Object, Unlock All, because I did lock that to get to the one behind it. I'm going to select all this and now lock it. Command 2. Only because I want to select this. I want to group it in a second. But actually, let me just change this to a like a cyan. And I'm now going to select all this. And I'm going to go to Command G, because now this is grouped. I'm now going to change this to 3 great flavors. And I'm going to hit escape, and I can even come up here into my type tool, change case, and make that all uppercase. I notice I use a different font on the one in my tutorial, in my original, which is okay. I'm going to delete these 1, 2, and I'm going to delete. I'm going to hold. I'm going to marquee this and go to Command 2 to lock it, and I'm going to delete this entire thing because I don't need that anymore. I'm going to select these cats. I'm going to delete them too. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Place. I'm going to find this image of this cat right here, and this cat is called Cat 1. I'm going to place it, go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. I'm going to move him where he needs to be. He does come off here a little bit. Let's see. I'll turn back the background a little bit. All right. Yep. That's how he's supposed to look. And I'm going to, the only thing I'm going to do with this is my original, which you can take and you can figure out how I built this, because that's not going to be a part of this tutorial. But basically, I built this actually originally for the first Chubby Cat episode, and I put the logo, the original logo in there. And I just changed this. So basically, all you're going to do is you're going to take this element right here, and you're going to, let's see, let's get these out of here. And we'll get these out of here. You're going to copy that element up, and you're going to go to Option, click, Option, click, shift it over, and then Option, click, shift it over again. And I'm going to click all three while holding shift. I'm going to move this under the word 3 great flavors. I'm going to go to Option, click shift one more time so we get that final one for over here. I'm going to move these up a little bit, and I'm going to, underneath them, type in, let's see, chicken, hit escape, go to object, arrange, bring to front, and I'm going to turn that white, and I'm going to make it smaller, just like so. I'm now going to go to, I'm going to type in salmon, hit escape, center it up just by eyeing it up. Now Option, click shift again, and type in beef. Hit escape, and get that nice and centered. Now these are actually kind of close together, so I'm gonna select and hold shift and just nudge it over a little bit. The arrows on my keyboard, same thing, shift and nudge it over with the arrows on my keyboard. And at this point, I'm going to take 3 great flavors and I'm going to eye it up and put it right over there. I'm going to zoom in here and I'm just going to do a couple of things. I'm going to change all these colors in here, anywhere where I see a brown, I'm going to change it to pink. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, and do this while holding shift. Where are you at? Hold on 1 second. We're going to do 1, 2, and we're going to change that to that pink. We're going to come in here. I got to lock this actually. I don't know, it's selecting something on top of it. We're going to change that foreground to pink. The same thing with here. Foreground to pink. Now we're going to type in salmon, hit escape, and we're going to make sure that's still centered. Yep, it pretty much is. We're going to change this to beef before we forget. Hit escape, and we're going to put that in the middle. We're going to actually move that up just a little bit like so. And hit A on your keyboard to get your direct selection. Hold shift while you select each element, and we're going to change these to green. All right. Oh, that's different. Cool. Cool. All right, so now we have the 3 different ones here. And we're now going to, the last thing we're going to do on this is we're just going to take this entire piece, we're going to make it nice and large, and we're going to rotate it just a little bit using that corner point. We're going to just increase it like so. And we're going to take a box, a rectangle, we're going to select it over that entire image to the bottom of that box. We're going to hold shift, right click, and make a clipping mask. All right, let's see what happened here. This needs to be in front. Object arrange, bring to front, and we're going to click that again by holding shift, make a clipping mask. All right, cool. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to take the rounded rectangle tool, and we're going to make a, actually, no, we're not going to do it. We're going to make a regular rectangle. I'm going to show you how to round that edge. It's going to be pretty cool. And we're going to fill it with black. We're going to go to object arrange, bring to front. It keeps sending everything to the back for some strange reason. We're going to hit plus sign on our keyboard and make a point here and a point here. Now we're going to hit the minus sign and we're going to delete that point. We're now going to hit Shift C, convert anchor point tool again, and we're going to click one of these points and pull it out. Hold Shift while you're doing this. And last thing we're going to do is we're going to type in new. And we're going to make sure that's what I have up here. Futura bold, so I'm just going to select that. Select the style of it and put it right over here. And, oh, I think I have to shear this. So we're going to shear this over, basically skew it, make it a little italics. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to click this. Remember this back here, and we're going to hold Shift, and we're going to click that cat, and we're going to go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, because I wanted the ears to go over that. I wanted it because I thought it looked pretty cool. Now we're going to turn on our background again, and you're going to notice, voila, there is our banner right over here. Now the next thing we got to do is save this stuff, and that is honestly the easiest part of this entire tutorial. So I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to turn my background layer off, okay, because I don't want to select any of this text on accident. Now this is a little bit of an interesting web banner because you got the 3-dimensionality of this cat hanging through into the website. He's basically coming into the website. Same deal with these cats a little bit. They're kind of coming in, they're going right over that blue bar. No big deal on that. But when it comes to this, basically what you're going to have to do is you're going to take a rectangle to save this. You're just going to make a rectangle around the whole piece. And you're going to definitely get the pause in there. And you're going to now go to File, Save for Web. And let's see what we did wrong here. Okay, because I have this white box. Let me hit Escape. We have something going on here. All right, let me try this again so I can diagnose this problem. I'm going to come back in here. Oh, excuse me. I didn't even do the most important thing. Go to Object, Artboards, Fit to a Selected Art. Okay, now we have our artboard. We're able to save this for web. We're going to save for web. And now, okay, here we go. We have a transparent. You have to select PNG or a GIF file with PNGs. I think they load faster. And make sure transparency is selected. See what happens when it's not. We're going to select that, and we're going to hit save. We're going to save that as test banner. All right, and we're going to save that right on the desktop. We're now going to go into your banner and switch the banners. I'm just going to delete all this other crap on the bottom, this other banner. And we're not going to make a new artboard. We're just going to save it as the same artboard, so you won't have a problem when you're coding this, using a different size or whatever. Even though you have all this extra space down here, you're now going to save this as test banner 2. We're going to go onto our desktop. We're going to shorten this a little bit. And let's see, test banner. Let's see if I pull in. I create a new document, let's just say, and I pull these banners on here. All right, I want to just show you real quick. We're done. We're going to put a white background, and we're going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back, and now you can see the cat paw is right over the black, and this is all transparent. Now you're ready to add this to whatever web design program that you're designing in. All right, so I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I put a lot of work into this stuff. These were very simple web banners, like I said, nothing crazy extravagant, but as you see, there's a lot of work that goes into it, refining all the time, this type of stuff, especially with the images in this one. But now that you know a little bit more than you did prior to this video, I'm sure. Let me know in the comments what that is, what you did learn, and what you felt about this video. Please share it out on your social networks. Very important for us to get these out there. Like these videos and hit the subscribe button. So you can get all our videos every time they come out. Now, I always ask at the end of my videos in this series, and I'm going to continue to, but my challenge to every graphic designer is take the files I have provided to you and make your own renditions. Tag them to my Facebook page or send them to me in my email, and I will post them for all to see. And that's important because other people can see all the other avenues you can go with a specific file on what you can do with them. Because you take 100 artists and give them the same file, they're going to make 100 different awesome versions. And we're all going to look at each other's versions and be like, wow, that was good that you did that, and I wish I thought of that too. So I'll see you guys next week for Layout Design Bootcamp episode number 4. Have a good night. Peace.